Hello, everyone. How are we all doing tonight? Good? Okay, awesome. My name is Elliott, and I am the Chief Executive Officer for the 39th Annual Comm Week Conference here at Cal State Fullerton. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce Comm Week to you all. For those of you who don't know, Comm Week is a 4-day-long conference that's put on by students in the entertainment and tourism major for event planning and management. When we put on this conference, we bring out a bunch of professionals from the communications industry, including those in the comm major, HComm major, which is human communications, as well as our cinema and television arts majors. So we bring out a bunch of professionals. That way our students can get some insight into the industry as well as network, and maybe get potential internships and careers from this week. Let's see here. Sorry, I lost my place. If you haven't already attended another event, we really encourage you to. It's a great opportunity. It's open to Cal State Fullerton students as well as community members. And I left some programs on the little round table as you're walking out if you want to go ahead and grab one. Tomorrow's our last day, and we have a few more events, so we really want you all to come out and get that great professional experience. Definitely take a look at the calendar as well as our website, because all of the bio information as well as a short little bio about what the speakers will be talking about is on there. I have the honor tonight of introducing our host for the L.I.F.E Symposium. Jack Mierop is a life coach, author, motivational speaker, ordained minister and educator here at Cal State Fullerton, as well as Fullerton College. The main focus in his book, Becoming, and his talks is personal growth, positive thinking, and interpersonal communication. I'm excited for this event tonight and hope you all are too. Without further ado, Jack Mierop. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Looks like a good crowd. I know a lot of you people here, so I'll be prepared to be spit on. And this is the L.I.F E Symposium, Living Incredibly Forever. And we have speakers that are going to talk to you about their experiences in life and how they managed to work through it, and how to help you look at life from a different point of view and to help you get through life so that you can live incredibly forever. And so our first speaker is a senior, graduating senior here at Cal State Fullerton. She's a former student of mine from a number of years ago. She is a mentee. She is a good friend. We get together quite regularly to get caught up and such. She wants to be a physician. She's minoring in Spanish. She's majoring in cellular and developmental biology. And she's going to be speaking about some of her experiences, and maybe experiences that didn't work the way she wanted them to work, and how she managed to walk through them and find her way. And it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our Associated Student Incorporated President and CEO for this year, Untitled Barrios.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Wow, this is a lot more intimidating than I thought. So, as Jack mentioned, my name is Untitled Barrios, and he stole my thunder. I was going to say all of that in my intro. So, as you said, I'm a cellular and developmental biology major, and I do hope to go to medical school and become a doctor. And if I were, I mean, he told you I had him in class, but if I were you, I would wonder, like, why is this bio major here at Comm Week? That has nothing to do with it. But I did have Jack in class of my second year of college, and it was one of my favorite classes because I was able to learn so much from him, and I also did buy his book, and I did learn from it to think positively and to not let these shitty situations get to you. And I also had previous experiences that taught me the same thing, but I didn't realize it at the time until I took his class. So I wanted to share with you all a couple experiences I had a few years ago that I think really shaped who I am today and what led me to ultimately run to be ASI president. So I'm taking you back to August 2011. I am coming off a plane with my twin sister after over 14 hours of traveling. I'm exhausted. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to sleep. And all of a sudden, I get off that plane and all of my senses are just heightened. Like, I feel like everything is super clear, slow motion, and I just had this wave of, what the hell did you just get yourself into? So what I got myself into was to study abroad in Argentina for a year. So I took a year off in between high school and college to study abroad. And my sister and I went with a program, so we flew by ourselves and then met with everyone there at Argentina. We went through the orientation program, learned the basics of what we needed to know, and then it was time to go to our host homes. And this was the first time my twin sister and I had ever been separated, so I was so scared. And she was in the south and I was in Buenos Aires, and I had one of the volunteers drive me to my host home. And when I got there, I think I still am a little awkward, but I used to be very shy and very awkward. So I just got there like, hi, like I'm gonna be living with you for a year. And it was one of those situations where I had no idea how to react to it. I had no idea what this experience was gonna be. And I didn't know that it was gonna be one of the most challenging years of my life, but also one of the most rewarding. So I went to a school while I was there in Argentina, and since it was a weird gap year, I was doing high school work because I had already gotten my high school diploma, so it was more of for the experience and to learn the language and the culture and just immerse myself in everything Argentina had to offer. And the first days of class, I was the most popular person on that campus because everyone wanted to talk to me. They wanted to see if the United States was really how it was portrayed in the movies. Are there really jocks? Is it like Mean Girls? Do you see celebrities on the daily? And I was just like, no, kind of, no. And so it was really cool because these people were so interested to learn about something I lived on a regular basis, but that stopped my second day of school. And then it got really lonely. So we had 2 breaks. We had a recess, which felt like an eternity, and then we had lunch, which also felt really long. And during these times, like, I didn't have anyone to go to because I didn't know anyone. I barely could communicate with them. I thought I knew Spanish until I went there, and they talk really, really fast. And so during the recess, I would just stay at my desk drawing in a notebook that I still have today. And during lunch, I would just like eat by myself. And it was a really lonely time, and it was really shitty. And sometimes in life, you get dealt these things where you may not know how to react to it or how to deal with it, especially if you're shyer like I was and sometimes still am today. And luckily, the older group of girls from the school, they were more welcoming, so I was able to like hang out with them and learn more about Argentina through them. And this experience taught me, by getting closer to those older girls, it taught me that I can't just expect things to be laid out for me and to be perfect for me. Like, I need to also make that effort, and if I want to make this experience something meaningful, I need to go and try to make those conversations and get out of my comfort zone and try to go explore outside of what is offered for me. So in Argentina, I was also able to do a program called Un Techo para mi país, which directly translated means a roof over our country, something like that. And this experience, we were able to go to a place that of people living in extreme poverty, and we were able to build them a home. And this experience, too, was probably the most eye-opening experience that I had while abroad, because you see these people who are living with dirt roads, they don't have running water, they barely have enough food to feed the whole family, but they're still so happy with life, and they're so welcoming and so giving. And there was these 2 little girls who were maybe 7 and 8 years old, and they were so eager to learn and to just learn as much as they could from myself as well as the other volunteers. And this was an experience that I was able to reflect on, because sometimes things happen where you're just like, oh, I can't, I don't know. Like, hopefully it has never happened to you, but sometimes for me it's just like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to this point because I'm so overwhelmed and I'm so stressed and I'm so, like, I just don't know how to deal with everything that is being placed in front of me. And this experience kind of taught me that sometimes you just have to take a step back and appreciate what you do have, because there's people out there who have so much less and are still so appreciative and so thankful for the little that they do have. So fast forward to college. I started 2012, And from my experiences in Argentina, from those feelings of loneliness, and from that experience with Un Techo, where I was able to see these people who were so giving and so happy with the little they had, I knew I wanted to make my college experience different, and I wanted to make the efforts and get more involved and make sure that I am putting my all into it to really enjoy my experience. And I tried to do that. I mean, the first days of school, it was very intimidating because I saw like the sorority women with the matching backpacks and walking together with the matching shirts, and then I saw people talking, and somehow everyone knew who like Mark and Johnny were, and people on Titan Walk were handing out things, trying to get people involved, and I wanted to be a part of that because I was one person and I knew absolutely no one on campus. So I tried to get involved, and I had some good experiences and some experiences that I just didn't feel like I fit in, and so I became an orientation leader. And when I became an orientation leader, that, ironically enough, the theme of orientation was find your fit, and that is when I felt like I finally found my fit on campus, because although we were all different majors, we all had different interests, we all had a common interest of wanting to help others, and because they were all involved in different areas of campus, I was able to learn more about those of them that were involved in Greek life and those of them that were involved in the College of Communications, and I was able to tell people about the College of Natural Sciences and Mathematics. And after that experience, I took the initiative to continue to get involved, because now at that point I knew what I would like and what I would benefit from, and then other things that maybe weren't the best investment of my time. So then I continued to get involved, and then joined ASI. And with ASI, I started off on a board and then continued on that board. And my vice president was the one that said, hey, why don't we run for president and vice president? And at first I was just like, yeah, sure. And then she like said it again, like, okay, like let's run, we're running, right? And I was just like, yeah, of course. And then I had always wanted to run, but I felt like I wasn't capable of it because of my shy tendencies, and I felt like I couldn't reach out to the 40,000 students we have on campus. And then one day it came down to it, we were talking, and we were just like, well, you want to run, I want to run, like let's actually run. So we did it, and campaigning was one of the second most challenging and rewarding experiences of my life. I don't remember what classes I was taking during that time, but I do remember I was taking a biochemistry course, and I absolutely hated it. And at that time, I kind of put a priority on ASI because that is where I felt I would be able to pay it forward more. And although my grades matter a lot with medical school, I sacrificed biochemistry because, one, I absolutely hated it, and two, I needed to put in the time and effort into reaching out to students to let them know what ASI is, because how many of you know what ASI is? Okay, I saw like a couple hands. So, you know, like it's the awareness part of it, of not only about elections, but first, what is ASI? What can they do for you? And then what do I want to do for you as someone who's running for the position? And during the experience, it's very challenging because you're trying to balance everything happening in life, and you're putting yourself out there to thousands of students, and many of them don't know you, and some of them like will judge you and will say things about you. And I remember one time when I was taking Jack's class, I had to forget if it was in class or in office hours, but we were talking, and at the time I was at second year complaining about something that I thought was under the world to me, and he mentioned how sometimes you can have so many great things said about you, but there's that one person that says something bad, and that's all that sticks to you. And that happened to me during campaigning, where I had so many supportive friends. My family was supportive. Alex, my vice president, obviously was supportive. But then there was those one or two people that said things that weren't very nice, and it really hit home. Like it really hit me. And my initial reaction was to cry, and my dad said, like, why are you letting these things get to you? They don't know you, they don't know your work ethic, why are you letting it affect you? And that's when I had to take a step back and see how I am reacting to the situation. Like, am I really living incredibly forever? No, I'm not, because I'm letting someone who doesn't know the littlest thing about me affect what I'm thinking of myself and starting to doubt myself. And thankfully, those types of situations allowed me to reevaluate what was going on in my life at the time and what could be what I could put more effort into or what I could focus more on. But I was letting it get the best of me because then I started doubting my work ethic in school. I started doubting all my previous experiences. I started doubting if I still wanted to be a doctor, all because of one little comment. So overall, sorry, I shared a lot of personal stories. So overall, through my experiences, there's times where you're just dealt a shitty hand, and there's times where you plan things out and it doesn't happen how you expected it to, but we shouldn't let that affect you because it really is up to you on how you respond to different situations. You can either dwell on it, which in my past I would just do that. I would just dwell on a situation and be like, oh, whatever, it's the end of the world. Or you can do something about it, and either whether it's proving someone wrong, whether it's studying more to ace an exam after you failed the first one, which has happened to me before, or whether it's just making more of an effort with things that you really do care about. I really do believe that it's up to a person on what they do with their life and like their capability. And I want to end with a quote or a saying that I always try to live by. It's in Spanish and it's todo pasa, and I see it with two meanings because todo pasa is like everything happens. So sometimes, like I said before, like sometimes shit happens and you deal with it in the best way you can. And todo pasa also means like it passes. So it's kind of like this too shall pass. And that's always what I remind myself because I hope not, but maybe you've had a situation where it's just, you just feel like you're so low and you don't know if you're going to come back from it and everything just is shitty, but it really does pass because in those situations where I would doubt myself and I was just sad with life and everything, it ended up passing and I ended up trying to do more and better myself, and then here I am talking to you all about my life. So thank you all for listening. Sorry if I rambled, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you.
Yanitza Barrios, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very proud to say that she was a former student, and I'm very proud to say that she is my friend, and you're going to be a great doctor, Yanitza. Absolutely wonderful. Our next speaker I've known for 8 years. He took a class with me and came to a variety of my events, was very, very supportive, very, very kind gentleman, and we've had some really sort of interesting experiences on Facebook, you know, that you would never think would happen. And it's sort of miraculous and interesting. And when this event came up, I asked him if he'd be willing to come out and speak to you guys. He graduated in 2015. He has his degree in math, and he has a teaching certificate. So he is now teaching at Fullerton Union District High School, something like that. I don't know, those words, I might have fucked them up. But I'm so excited to have him here with us tonight. I'm excited to have all the speakers here with us tonight. Let me introduce you to Davey Eaves.
Thank you. Hello, thank you. First I'll start with, when Jack asked me to speak to you guys, I was like, what the hell do I know about living incredibly forever, right? I just teach math, that's all I do. And then as I was thinking about what I was going to do, I was like, you know what, I'm a pretty cool person. I think I have lived incredibly forever. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going for it. And I decided to set pen to paper, and I wrote a slam poetry piece. I've never written one before, so if it's garbage, just keep that in mind. The rhymes start and then they kind of end, but I was like, fuck it, it's my poetry, I do what I want. So it's called Who Are You? And this is it. When I was in the 7th grade, I saw my first act of hatred being played against me. Matthew and Tyler. They called me fat behind my back, thinking I couldn't hear what they see. But I heard every word, and they were right. So I couldn't fight with what they thought, so I joined. I joined them in making fun of me, because then they could see that I could be funny too. I was a fool. Oh, they laughed, with me and at me at the same time. And though I hid that I was sore, I gave them what they wanted. I gave them more. It wasn't long before I committed more wrongs and started making fun of others just to get along with these friends of mine who I'd started to spend time with. And I told myself I wasn't a bully because my victims didn't know. Would a dead man be aware if he'd been murdered, though? I knew it was wrong, and it wasn't long before my lies no longer sufficed my need. These guys weren't my friends, but worst of all, this wasn't me. As I got older, I learned more about who I was, who I wanted to be. You see, as youth, we are but mere clay, hardening a little more every day, but still sculptable. There are so many influences that play on who we become or if we succumb to some sort of dismay. 10th grade, I knew who I was. I started a new school. I made friends. I was cool. I was above who I used to be. But I still wasn't me. Something wasn't right. And instead of facing reality, I hid from the light. What I felt inside, I kept in my mind. I kept my mouth shut, my dimples deep, and pretended to be like everybody else. You see, this new school, it was cool because it was an arts school. I went for acting, and I loved it. And the friends I made loved me. The friends I made were accepting of everything. I mean, it was an art school, so you can imagine the kind of artists we had. The range of these kids, though, each one, finally, their gifts they're able to express without a fear of being repressed. Yet it took me a year. It took me a year to fight the fear, to tell my friends I was. American poet Allen Ginsberg once said, "Concentrate on what you want to say to yourself and your friends. Follow your inner moonlight. Don't hide the madness. You say what you want to say when you don't care who's listening." To tell my friends I was gay. What? They'd say. They were blown away. I never would have guessed that, they'd say. Well, good, that's kind of what I was going for. But not anymore. No. Now if someone asked me who I was, it was time that I knew. Better yet, it was time that the ones that I loved knew too. Finally, after 16 years of searching, I had found myself. Senior year of high school. Mom, Thomas and I are more than friends. Who was I fooling? She knew, as most mothers do. Life was great. I knew who I was happy, I was about to graduate. And then I started spending more time with Thomas. And I pushed my friends aside. I spent more time with Thomas while I pushed my family aside. I was about to leave the only city I had lived in my entire life to go to college, and I just spent more time with Thomas. And guess what? Thomas was a tool. Not in the metaphorical, literal way where I was using him like a tool, but in the metaphorical way where he was a jerk. Like a fool, I spent more time with Thomas. And then I moved off to college. California State University at Fullerton. Yeah, you've seen it. And I spent less time with Thomas. And then, as young lovers do, especially over great distances, we grew apart, thank God. And it broke my heart, but I broke up with Thomas. And who had my back? My friends, my family, even though I didn't deserve it because I pushed them aside. But they let me know that they were there to stay. It didn't break my heart because I was losing Thomas. It broke my heart because I forgot who I was. Every one of us knows who we are. We know how we got to where we are today through each of these defining points along the way. We made choices. We changed shape. We find voices. We're all great in our own way. You see, again, as youth, we are but mere clay, hardening a little more every day, but still sculptable. By adulthood, we're like rocks, much harder to change, but still sculptable. I mean, Michelangelo's statue of David was a block of marble before he made it. Raise your hand if you're the same person you were 5, 7 years ago. Right. We all change. We learn. We grow. Hopefully here and not here, though. But as we go through life, we learn more and more about who we are. And we make choices about what we want to keep and what we want to leave behind. And it's these choices that make us who we are. Last year in America, I think we all learned a whole lot more about one another. We took sides and things got ugly. I mean, passion can be so lovely, but you can't forget who you are. You should only go so far when trying to prove a point. Both sides, I'm talking to you, and you know it's true. We're in this together. Here's a quote for you. To be one, to be united is a great thing. But to respect the right to be different is maybe even greater. Bono said that. Yeah, the guy with the glasses from U2. We have an influence on the person we portray. Granted, there are things we cannot change. Our race, our background, our face. Well, I guess you can with that one. Our feelings, our time, world killings, bad rhymes. Thank you. It was a joke. What I mean to say is that aside from the things we can change, the person that we portray, the words and actions we arrange, they come from the person we are. If you're nice to your friends, but nasty when ordering at the bar, you're not a nice person. Is that who you are? If you will sit and listen to your girlfriend complain in your car, but think only of yourself, you're not a good boyfriend. Is that who you are? To an extent, sure, we can. But as a whole, man cannot change the amount of time we have left on this earth. And I don't know what's waiting on the other side of death. But I know if I don't show my best, then what was it all for? Life's hard sometimes. But I know when I show the best part of me, who I am, who I want the world to see, life is great. We shouldn't hesitate to be the person we want to be. Thank you.
Wow. That was absolutely wonderful, Davey. I didn't see the rhymes go away. Yeah, give him a really? He said in the beginning that the rhymes were going to be in the beginning and then they were going to go away, but he kept it up, and I thought that was brilliant. That was very nicely done, and he put that together for this gig. And I couldn't be happier and more impressed and more honored to have you be a part of it. Thank you. Our next speaker is a food scientist, a bodybuilder, a published author. She has a website entitled greeneyedguide.com, and she is got higher degrees in food science, and she's going to talk to you about the 5 levels of fatigue. Please welcome Danielle Rath.
All right, so first, no one has drank out of this, so I'm going to indulge myself here. Okay, there we go. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Danielle. Since this is a nice intimate setting, I wanted to start with a question. It's a little, there we go. So if you are a full-time student with a part-time job, with a show of hands, just go like this. Let me see. If you're a full-time student with a part-time job, go like this. So almost everyone in here. Oops, sorry. It's all the protein. Okay. So I had you go like this because it's easier and less subtle than having you raise your hand. And this is also how I can tell if people have had too much caffeine. So as I've said, my name is Danielle. I also go by the name Green Eyed Guide. I run the website greeneyedguide.com, through which I help guide people on how to see energy drinks and performance supplements the way I do through my green eyes. But I'm not here to talk about science or energy drinks. I'm here at this communications event to talk about the most important communication you will ever do. communication with yourself. I know, it sounds kind of cheesy. But a few years ago, I was stuck lying on the floor. I wasn't drunk or stoned or sleepy or sick. I just couldn't get up. I just couldn't make myself get up off the floor. At the time, I was living with my mom and working in a bar as a barback. And this was after I had gotten my master's in food science and my bachelor's in biochemistry. And I remember lying on the floor in my work clothes thinking, I can't do this anymore. This is not where I belong. This is not what I was meant to do. And I just couldn't get up because then it meant I would have to go to work. And I just couldn't do that anymore. So about a year after that, I finally published my book on energy drinks that I had been working on as a side project for about 10 years. And this book, yes, it's about energy drinks and the science behind their ingredients, but more importantly, what's in that book is a system called the 5 levels of fatigue. Now, the 5 levels of fatigue is all about self-awareness. Self-awareness is so important that that's the distinguishing test to differentiate between humans and machines. But think about how many times we treat ourselves like machines. Maybe it's at the gym, I'm a machine. Or maybe when you're trying to stick to your routine. Wake up, go to class, study, go to work, sleep, repeat. You can do this, you're a machine. Or maybe it's when you're trying to ignore your emotions. Don't freak out. You got this. You've done this before. Don't think, don't fear. You got it. You're a machine. So sometimes we ignore self-awareness, but we need to stop doing this. The 5 levels of fatigue is based around the concept of self-awareness. And the 5 levels of fatigue can help you to live happier, healthier lives. The 5 levels of fatigue can help you avoid getting stuck on the floor. So how does this work? So fatigue level 0. Everything is awesome, right? Like the Lego song. At fatigue level 0, I know, I'm not a good singer, bear with me. Fatigue level 0, you feel great. You're hyper with happiness, you're pumped with adrenaline, maybe you just aced a test or you finally asked that girl out and she said yes, whatever. You're feeling amazing. Maybe you're not happy per se, but you're feeling strong, you're feeling confident, you're feeling capable and sturdy. But more importantly, fatigue level 0, you're not under the influence of caffeine or any other substance. You're there and you're feeling good. That's fatigue level 0. With fatigue level 1, you're a little tired. With fatigue level 1, you've been running around, you're a little busy, you might have forgotten to eat breakfast, you might have not been drinking enough water throughout the day. So fatigue level 1 is where your fatigue is based on dehydration. No big deal. I mean, it's nothing major. You're starting to ignore basic human needs, but it's not the end of the world. With fatigue level 2, you're pretty tired. It's not just water and food that you're neglecting, it's your sleep. But just get more sleep is not always an option. Fatigue level 2 is where some high school students and most college students live. This is our day, this is our life, right? Because there's a lot going on. There's a lot that's expected of you, and there's a lot to do. So it can be an honest struggle getting enough sleep on a regular basis. So yeah, we need a little bit of help. But you're a little tired. You're still okay though. You're just busy. Fatigue level 3 is when you're exhausted. You are really pushing your boundaries with what you think you can accomplish. You might feel like you're on a treadmill, like you just have to get through it. You just have to keep pushing forward, just keep moving, don't stop. You're a machine, just keep going. That's fatigue level 3. Fatigue level 4, you're past tired. You're running on fumes. You're at the point where you could fall asleep standing. This is the breaking point for you. You feel like if one more thing goes wrong, if I get one more assignment, one more piece of bad news, one more task, I'm just going to break. That's fatigue level 4. With fatigue level 5 of 5, you're done. You have to rest because there is no caffeine or anything on the planet that will save you. If you don't rest, your body will pass out and will make you rest. It's not an option. That is fatigue level 5. You can no longer push yourself because you're not a machine. You are human. So the way that the 5 levels of fatigue can help you live a happier, healthier life is, again, it's self-awareness. If you're constantly at fatigue level 3, you might need to reconsider some of your priorities. If you're constantly at fatigue level 4, something has to change. Maybe it's your major, maybe it's your job, maybe it's your friends. Something in your life is not working. Something in your life is draining you of energy. Something is draining you of life, of the ability to get up off the floor. So with these 5 levels of fatigue, the important thing to do is to communicate with yourself. You have to think about where you are on the scale. And the other important thing to remember about this is that it's not a matter of laziness versus productivity. Because think about it, if you were doing something you were truly passionate about, that invigorates you. Have you ever stayed up super late watching a TV show or a movie because you just couldn't turn away? Or maybe you found a book or a video game, Portal 2, or a project that just pulled you into another world and you lost track of all time and space, right? When we're doing something we're passionate about, we find that energy. It's not from a product, it's inside. We have that passion, that energy because we care about what we're doing. When you are forcing yourself to do something that you don't want to do, then that will drain you of energy and you will have to rely on external sources. So that should be a sign that this is not a sustainable way to live. It's not easy. It's not easy to make that change. It can be scary, especially when you know that your current situation isn't working, but you don't know what the ideal situation should be. But if you ignore the signs that you need to make the change, you're just going to stay stuck. It can feel like you don't have control of your own life, but you do. You may not be able to control your situation, but you can control your response. There's a proverb that I really like that says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And that's what I had to do. I had to first admit that what I was doing wasn't working before I could even begin to ask myself what I wanted to do. So the point of the 5 levels of fatigue is to communicate with yourself and to first figure out every day where on that scale you are so that you can begin to identify what's working, what's not working. And you can identify what you need to do to get yourself back to level 0, where you're feeling awesome. That is how the 5 levels of fatigue works. And that is the system that I've used to help me find my passion. Thank you.
Danielle Rath. I'm trying to figure out what level I'm at. I'm not sure if I'm tired or if I'm awake or what's going on. Our next speaker took a couple of classes with me. I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, but he's going to want to argue with me, and I don't care. You remember how long ago?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. So I was close. Oh, it's exact, actually. And he took a public speaking class with me, and he absolutely blew me away when he gave speeches. And we've stayed in contact, and he's an HCOM major, a human communication studies major here at Cal State Fullerton. He's minoring in psychology because he really has a desire to understand how people think and why they behave the way they do, and it's very similar to my desire to understand that as well, so that we can understand our lives and understand the habits that we engage in and how we create our own personal reality. And actually, I did a presentation like this last year in Com Week, and he attended. And then early in the fall semester, he bumped into me on campus, and he goes, "Hey, I want to speak." And that really, because I was thinking, it's a lot of work, and put all the people together, and you got to get people to help, and it is a lot of work. And then to garner an audience too. So I'm really glad that you're here. And so I started working with him, and he started bugging the shit out of me, and so here we are, and. He's going to talk about the mask you all wear and that you should take the damn thing off. This is Connor Davidson.
Are you familiar with the mask? That mask that people wear when people would want to be perceived a certain way. Everybody wears that mask. I wear it, you wear it, we all wear the mask. And underneath this mask is our real selves. It is our true selves. It is who we really are, and it's who we do not share to the world. And the reason why we don't share our true selves to the world is because we are afraid of the judgments of other people. We are afraid of what other people think about us. And that's why I, Connor Davidson, am here tonight to tell you to not worry about what other people think about you. And in doing so, I will tell you reasons why it's problematic to worry about what others think, reasons why we worry about what other people think about us, a solution, benefits to that, as well as a call to action, which is what you can do, all based on the research and the ideas that have been gathered. So let's start with the problem. It is problematic to worry about what other people think about you for the first and foremost obvious reason: you're a less happy person when you are afraid of what people think about you. This is because you start living the life that other people want you to live, and you stop living the life that you want to live, and then you become constrained by the evaluations of other people. According to communication scholar Charles Cooley, he postulates a phenomenon known as the looking glass self. What this is how you perceive yourself is a reflection of how other people perceive you. And if you believe in the negativity that other people are telling you, you will be a less happy person, and the amount of freedom that you have in your life is going to be limited. Another problem with worrying about what other people think about you is that you're less likely to achieve your dreams and your goals and your aspirations in life. Somewhere along the line, somebody's going to tell you that you're not good enough. Someone's going to tell you that you're inadequate or you're incompetent. Somebody's going to tell you that you're worthless, or someone's going to tell you that you're going to flunk that class, or you're not going to get a job after you graduate. And if you believe in the negativity that other people tell you, you're less likely to achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. Another problem with being afraid of what people think about you is that you become extrinsically motivated. Martin et al. Of 2012 did a longitudinal study, and they wanted to examine people's motivation style in relation to their life satisfaction. And there's two types of motivation. There's extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation, it's when you are motivated by outside forces. Intrinsic motivation, it's when you motivate you. And the study found that people who are extrinsically motivated have lower life satisfaction. People who are intrinsically motivated have higher life satisfaction. This is because people who are extrinsically motivated are driven to receive some sort of reward. And oftentimes that reward is praise or social recognition or social validation from other people, so they are driven on that regard. People who are intrinsically motivated, they are self-driven. They tend to not care about what other people think about them, and therefore they have higher life satisfaction and are happier people in life, as opposed to people who are extrinsically motivated. So those are the problematic effects of being afraid about what people think about you. But why do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why are we so afraid about what other people think about us? And the reason for that is because when we communicate with other people, we take risk. And such risk involve being judged, being misunderstood, being exposed, or even being rejected. And these are risks because they are threatening to our self-image. Our self-image is what we view of ourselves, and our self-image runs synonymous with our self-esteem. Our self-esteem is how we feel about ourselves and our sense of self-worth. And when our self-image is threatened, our self-esteem is threatened too. This causes a person to engage in the act of face-saving. Face-saving is protecting your self-image. And people do this when they try to explain and justify their actions to those who are committed to misunderstanding them. And they do this so other people can have a more positive perception about them. And this is when people put on that mask, because they are afraid of what people might be thinking about them, so they can manage their self-presentation and they can manage other people's impressions about them. And it all comes down to this deep biological need for unconditional positive regard. In other words, we want to be appreciated. We want to feel as if we are important, and we want to feel loved. And when other people give us praise, we feel important. We feel loved. When other people bash on us, we don't feel important and we don't feel loved. So it all comes down to this deep-rooted need to feel loved. Those are the reasons why we're afraid of what people think about us. And the solution is to accept the fact that this world is a judgmental place. People are judgmental as fuck, and they are naive in their judgments. It is true. People are naive in their judgments. You have to accept that, but you can't accept the naive judgments themselves. And this is because people have different ideas about you. Some people may think that you're very intelligent. Some people may think you're not intelligent. Some people may think you're very attractive, and some people may not think you're very attractive. Some people may think that you really suck, and some people may think that you're very talented. But sucking doesn't suck that bad if you don't give a fuck about what other people think about you. And if people do think bad things about you, you can't allow that negativity into your life. You have to be in control of your own happiness and your own freedom in life. And I know that there's people who think different things about me. Some are good, some are bad. You know what I say about those bad vibes from others? You know what I say? I say, fuck them. They don't need my attention. They don't need my attention. But my glasses do. And you cannot attune to the negativity that other people are trying to give onto you. And that starts with accepting the fact that people are going to judge you. That's just the way it is. And once we do this, benefits arise. One major benefit of not being afraid about what people think about you is that you become a happier person. That's because you can live the life that you want to live. You don't have to live the life that other people expect you to live, and you don't have to live based off of other people's standards. And you're not constrained by the evaluations of other people, and the amount of freedom that you have in your life, the amount of freedom to just be yourself is nearly unlimited. You become dangerously free. And I mean that in a good way. Another benefit of not being afraid about what other people think about you is that you can achieve the things that you want to achieve. Think of all the inventors and explorers that ever lived in this world, like Stephen Jobs or Christopher Columbus. Somewhere along the line, somebody must have told them that you're stupid and crazy, don't do this, you're going to fail. But they didn't listen to them. They believed in themselves, and they went out and they did great things for themselves, and they did great things for society. And if you believe in yourself, you can do great things. And just because other people think badly about you, if others do think badly about you, literally nothing bad happens. The universe is still going to be the way it is, the world is still going to be intact, and life is still going to be the same. And it's only a problem if you make it a problem in your head. But if you don't make it a problem in your head, another benefit is that embarrassing events are no longer embarrassing because of the mockery and criticisms and bashful behaviors that other people give onto you are no longer relevant. We all have those embarrassing events that happen to us from time to time. Me, personally, when I was in 2nd grade taking a test, I pooped my pants. And I was in the middle, and I was in the front of the class, and I just laid one. But I'm not ashamed of it. And that's because it's much more honorable to own your silly actions rather than to be ashamed of it. And I was owning that shit. All right, on a serious note, another benefit of not worrying about what other people think about you is that you can express yourself however you want. And it's not just the positive and happy emotions, but those negative feelings you get from time to time. According to Swager of 1981, there is a social stigma on expressing certain emotions. Guys can't cry. Girls can't be aggressive. And that's totally irrelevant because it's okay to be in touch with your feelings regardless of who you are and regardless of what you're feeling. It is okay to feel sad after being heartbroken. It is okay to feel angry if things don't go your way. And it's okay to be confused about what you want to do in life. But don't you dare think that it's okay to believe that you are unlovable, unattractive, or undesirable, because that will unmotivate you and that will discourage you. And as I said, it's okay to feel emotions, even the ones that are overwhelming, because emotions are signs that we are human. It's proof that we are alive, and that is a beautiful thing in and of itself. Yet it's quite shameful how people suppress this natural expression of life. For example, various cultures, not just this US culture, but many other cultures, condition males to express anger and not sadness when they're feeling negative. For females, they're programmed to express sadness and not anger when they're feeling negative. And the reason for this is because if a male expresses anger as opposed to sadness, if the male expresses sadness as opposed to anger, the male is perceived as being weak or a coward or a pussy. Whereas if a female expresses anger as opposed to sadness, the female is seen as being crazy, moody, or a bitch. And that's totally irrelevant, and people bottle up and they suppress their emotions because they're afraid of what people might think about them. And we are born into this world crying. We come out the womb bursting in tears for crying out loud. It is okay to be in touch with your feelings. It is okay to experience emotions because they're natural parts of human life. And if you're not afraid of what people think about you, you can express yourself however you want. And before I talk about the call to action, let me first say this as a disclaimer. Don't completely at all not care what anybody thinks about you. Don't be 100% about it because there are some things that you should care about. Social psychologist Dr. Aziz states that what if somebody says, hey, I really like you, or hey, I think you're an awesome person, or I think you're very attractive. And if you don't care at all what they say, that can be really disrespectful for you and for the other person. And it can prevent relational growth and personal growth. So don't completely at all not care what anybody thinks about you, but don't worry what people think about you. And the call to action, which is what you can do. The call to action to not worry about what other people think about you is to practice something called self-compassion. Self-compassion is loving yourself. And this is especially important because everybody has something good about them, and everybody has something bad about them. People who practice self-compassion love themselves and are happy, think about what's good about them. People who are unhappy and do not practice self-compassion and do not love themselves, think about what's bad about them. And most of the time, those bad thoughts are developed by the expectations of other people. But sometimes those expectations, it's constructive criticism, which is fine to a certain extent. But if what other people are telling and believing about you, if it's bashful, hurtful, judgmental, and not constructive, then you need to focus on the positive aspects about life and the positive aspects about yourself, because that's what it means to practice self-compassion. And just because other people don't love you doesn't mean that you can't love yourself. Just because other people think badly about you doesn't mean that you have to think badly about yourself. And just because other people reject you doesn't mean that you have to reject yourself. You are living your own life, not the life of other people. And at the end of the day, it is how and what you view of yourself that really matters. And if you have a passion, pursue it. Do not let the thoughts and opinions of other people bring you down. Don't let other people destroy you. And if you need to, make a list of all the great things about yourself, or keep reminding yourself of all the great things about yourself. Because believe me, they exist. And you must believe in yourself, because that's what it means to practice self-compassion, and that's what it's like to live without the mask. And if there's anything that I want you to learn tonight, it's that love isn't something that you find. Love is something that you create. So tonight, I talked about why it's problematic to worry about what others think about you, which is because you become less happy, less successful, and extrinsically motivated. And we do this because we take risks when we communicate, which comes down to this deep-rooted need to feel loved. And the solution is to accept the fact that people are going to be judgmental. And this can be beneficial because we become happier people. We become more successful people. We can be ourselves, Embarrassing events are no longer shameful, and you can express yourself however you want. But don't forget to practice self-compassion, because love isn't something that you find. It's something that you create. And one more thing. There comes a time in everybody's life where they must make a choice. And that choice is to decide if they want to listen to the devil or the angel on their shoulder. The devil says bad things about the person, and the angel says good things about the person. And most of the time, those devilish thoughts are developed by the expectations of other people. If this is you, you need to kick that devil off your shoulder because it's got nothing good to say. And you cannot allow the negativity from others to be absorbed into your life. You need to listen to that angel, because that angel knows how to love. That angel knows how to live. That angel allows you to be yourself, and by listening to that, you can live without the mask. So love yourself. Thank you.
Connor Davidson, ladies and gentlemen. How am I supposed to follow that? Getting all academic and shit. Judgmental as fuck? How judgmental is fuck? I have my segment coming up now, but before I go into it, I want to thank Hannah and the Com Week staff and all of the tech people and the TSU staff, all of my wonderful speakers. I got a couple of guys helping out. I got videographers all over the place. You guys are absolutely wonderful. I have a couple of young ladies sitting at the table that are willing to take your money for my book or my CD or what else are we selling? Mugs. I got mugs. Holy shit, I got mugs. You need something to drink your coffee, and why not be reminded of me when you do so? That's my rationale. So how many days? 23. Jesus Christ. It's rhetorical, for God's sakes. What is that? Is that the days left of the semester until you graduate? Okay. Yeah. Well, the question is a little deeper than that, but... And I was going to say, have you ever asked yourself that? But obviously they have. But how many days? Think about this, because we don't ask this question. How many days? We measure our lives in years. You know, I don't know, 20? What are you, 21? 21? You're 20. I'm 20. I'm 24. I'm 37. I'm a million. Been here a while. But we rarely think about days. You know, every now and then I see this post on Facebook that says every day you have 86,400 seconds. And it's like, what are you going to do with those seconds? How are you going to spend that? How are you going to spend that time? But my question is, how many days do you want to live? How many days do you want to live? The place is pretty quiet. Because I know exactly how many I want to live. And I'm here to tell you, it's a choice. That's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight, living with choice. And the choices that you make and how it affects your life. And Connor kind of talked about it a little bit, the choices that you make to believe what other people tell you. And so you wear that mask in order to cover it up, to be accepted by other people. So it's along those same sort of lines. And I'm going to break it down into the repro man, decisions, and wait a minute. So the repro man, how are you living? Smokey the Bear. Oh, no segue. Smokey the Bear. What's his saying? Oh, what is it? Wait, only you can prevent forest fires. First time I heard that, I was a little kid. I was like, forest fires are fucked. I'm just way too busy to prevent all those forest fires. But a lot of people live the opposite of that. Okay, so what I'm talking about is, are you living a life that's proactive or reactive? And I'll explain. Reactive means you're sort of a passive participant in your life, and you're just kind of going through life, reacting to stuff that happens. You're not taking active control over situations and making decisions and creating choices for yourself that create your own personal reality. Because you do create your own personal reality in the words that you think, in the words that you use, and in the habits that you engage in, whether they be physical habits or whether they be mental habits, because you have habits of thought. You have thoughts that run through your subconscious mind that find their way to your conscious mind that you repeat over and over to yourself. And whether it's based on Connor's bit of hearing criticism from other people and buying into that and believing it, and then you wake up in the morning and that's the first thought you have in your mind. You're ugly. You're too fat. You're too this. You're too that. You're not good enough in some way. And then you go through life and stuff happens and you're not taking active control of it. You're reacting to it after it happens. In other words, to put it in the Smokey the Bear parlance, you wait until the fire starts and then you try to go put it out. That's the way a lot of us live. As opposed to preventing forest fires, preventing that shit that happens in your life, taking active control of it. But you have to have some sense of who you are, and you have to have some sense of the people that you put around you and the networks that you create, the reality that you create. The words that you're saying, you got to become aware of those. You got to change some of those words. Words are incredibly powerful, and I'm going to get to that when I get to the end of the presentation. If you want to take more control over your life and you want to live a happier life, create a happier reality, create a more conducive, constructive, satisfying reality, you have to take control over that life. You can't be reactive. You can't wait for shit to happen and then do something about it. Take a look at what you want to happen and find a way to create that. Find the people that can help you create that. I'm an example of that right here, this evening right here. I mean, along with Connor's help and Connor's encouragement, we put this evening together. We found people that we thought would be interesting to present to you, and we asked them to present, and then we got a hold of Com Week, and we got the venue, and we've got some people coming in with lighting. We got video crew. That happened because we decided that's what we wanted to do. That's the reality that we wanted to create for tonight. We made it happen. How are you living your life? Are you reactive? Are you proactive? Let's talk about decisions. Decisions. Here's what I find, and part of it is your programming. Somebody told you somewhere along the line that something sucked. I don't care what it was, pick it out. Pick it out of your, what sucks. Somebody told you that ahead of time. And you bought into it, you buy it. You believe it to be true. And then you wander around in the world going, oh, I have to go do that. Oh, that's going to suck. You make the decision ahead of time that that's going to suck because somebody else told you it would suck. What are the major things in our society that you have to do once in a while that suck? It's rhetorical. I have the answers. The ones that I want to talk about anyway. Fuck, don't make me think. What are the two? The two major ones are jury duty. Jury duty. How many times have I heard, oh, fuck, I have jury duty? It's just like, oh, poor you. You're doing your civic duty, for God's sakes. Put somebody in jail. Or not. Save somebody's life. Or DMV. Right? Oh, I got to go to DMV. I had to go to DMV a couple of months ago. And it wasn't, and I thought, oh, I'll make an appointment. So I called him up, and the appointments were like 3 years from now. And I was like, well, that's not going to work because I need it tomorrow. So I went over to the DMV, and of course there's no parking, so I parked in the church parking lot like 3 blocks away. And then I get there, and the line is like forever. And what's the choice? You can make a choice. That's a decision. That's the choice. This is gonna suck for the next 4 hours. Because that's basically how long it takes you to get through the DMV line. That's what it took me. And it could suck. But I don't want my life to suck. I want to enjoy life. So I make a different choice. I'm going to enjoy life. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to talk to the guy in front of me. I'm going to talk to the girl behind me. I'm going to look around. I'm going to observe the world. I'm going to enjoy the air. I'm going to look at the breeze flowing through the trees. And so I'm on this line at the DMV, and I start talking to this guy, very nice guy. Wanted to know what I did, and I gave him a business card, and I was talking about life coaching and motivational speaking and that sort of thing. And I think he was in construction. He did, I don't know, solar or some shit. And well, it was, good for him. I don't remember. It was a while back. God bless him and solar. Because if he was into fossil fuel, I would have told him to go fuck himself. So then he tells me, as the conversation progressed, because we actually hung out for 4 hours. As the conversation progressed, he tells me that he had eye cancer. And I was like, holy shit, what was that like? And he spent probably an hour just telling me about the ordeal that he went through himself dealing with eye cancer and how they strapped his head down so that they could point a laser at it and kill it. And he told me all of the emotions that he went through when he found out that he had cancer. He said, man, when you hear that word and it's applied to you, your life is over. But he survived. But we had a wonderful chat. And he was a wonderful man. And I would have given up on that if I had decided this was going to suck and just stand online and brood and not actually hold a conversation with somebody. I learned some valuable information, and I actually enjoyed my time talking to him. So we go through the line and we get inside and we go to 2 different windows, and it just so happens that there was a seat next to him when we got our little tickets for whatever. We're looking at the screens waiting for whoever's going to deal with us. And I sat down with him, and we continued the conversation, and it went on to other places, and it was a great afternoon. That could have sucked if I had made the decision that it was going to suck, if that was going to be my choice. I decided not to do that. But a lot of you have that programmed into you. A lot of you decide ahead of time whether something is going to suck or not, whether or not you're going to enjoy it. I've had students come into my office and say, I have to take poli-sci next semester. That's going to suck. And I go, well, it doesn't have to. It depends on who the teacher is. It depends on if you're engaged in the material. It depends on you making a decision that it's not going to suck. You can make that decision. I don't like failing people. As a teacher, I don't like failing people. I would love for you to succeed. And one semester, I had this young lady in class, and got to know her like I get to know a lot of my students. And she had a lot of stuff going on in her life. She was very busy. She didn't hand in assignments that she needed to hand in. And I kind of followed up with her and said, you need to get me these things or it looks bleak. And it turns out that she failed the class. And I hated to do that, but I don't do special. I'm just processing the information. And she didn't have enough points to pass the class. Felt bad for her. She's my friend on Facebook. I follow her a little bit, and over the years, 2-3 years maybe, just watch what was going on. She got married. She seems like she's really happy. It's like, well, it wasn't that big of a deal to get an F in the class. Because how would you feel, like if you had to take the class again? I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you. God bless you if you haven't or have. I'm not sure. I don't believe in God, so that blessing is fucked. It just doesn't exist. God bless you. Oh, thank you very much. No, he doesn't exist. So, I don't know, how would you feel if you had to repeat a class? Like, oh, God damn it, I got to take that class again. And one day I get an email from her or a message on Facebook, and she said, I don't know if you remember me, but I took your class about 4 years ago, and I failed. And I did remember her. And then she said, I just wanted to thank you. What? She said, I just wanted to thank you because I had to retake the class. And when I did, I met my husband. Holy shit. So look at how you shoot yourself in the foot when you say, I'm going to decide by my choice that this is going to suck to have to take this class again, but you run into a miraculous situation where you meet your former, or you meet your future husband. They met in that class, and she would have never met him had she not failed the first class. I counsel people that are dealing with breakups. I counsel people that are dealing with death. I counsel people that are dealing with failure. And my number one advice to them is see everything as a blessing. Just look at everything as a blessing. This is where you're supposed to be. It's pointing you in a direction you need to learn from, or you need to find your way through because there's better things on the other side of that door. That's you creating your own reality, not making a choice ahead of time. How can you decide ahead of time if something's going to suck tomorrow? You haven't even been there yet. You don't know who's going to be there. You don't know what the weather's going to be like. You don't know what's going to happen. And yet, with our negativity and probably the programming that Connor was talking about, how you don't believe in certain things, and society has programmed you to hate certain things. And why even bother with all that negativity? So wait a minute. You like waiting? Waiting sucks too, doesn't it? Doesn't it? I fucking hate to wait. And I used to wait. Now get this, I used to wait. I don't wait anymore. How's that possible? How's that possible? I don't wait anymore. And this is the power of language. Because waiting, the word wait, in your vocabulary, in your head, has a negative connotation. You don't like to wait. There's a line, whether it be at the DMV or whether it be at jury duty. I've had good experiences at jury duty too, and maybe that's because I make friends with people and I talk to people. But you can do that too. People love people that talk to them, and you just sit there and you remain and you like this. Creepy people. I talk to creepy people. I like them. Hey, it's how I learned about myself. So how is it that I don't wait? You just picked the wrong word. Because waiting has a negative connotation, and society has programmed that into your head, that waiting is bad. I don't wait, I hang. And isn't that big different? What are you doing? We're hanging. It's cool. If you say, no, we're waiting, oh, fuck. Too bad for you. Waiting. That's how I don't wait anymore. I enjoy the moment. That's the biggest problem that we have, is that Eckhart Tolle talks about living in the moment, living in the now. The Power of Now is the name of one of his books. And we don't live in the moment. We don't enjoy this moment. We're living for later on. We're living for later on tonight. We're living for the weekend. It's Wednesday. How many people are like, oh, fuck Thursday and Friday? Where's Saturday? I want Saturday. I want Sunday. I'm living right now. And tomorrow morning when I wake, I'm going to live when I get home. I'm going to live tomorrow morning when I wake up. I'm going to live. And when I come to a point where there is a line, and I don't care if it's, well, I do care. I don't care if it's in the grocery store because, there's all the cute chicks to look at on Shape magazine. And waiting for a train for me is a blessing because of those of you that know me, I'm a train aficionado. And I'm like, as I'm approaching the crossing gates, I'm like, come on, give me a train. Give me a train. And then the fucking lights start to fly. And the gates go down, and I'm like, yes! I get to wait for a train! No, I hang with the train. And it's a whole different reality. I create a whole different reality for myself. So what, Connor was talking about the negative angel. It's telling you you're a piece of shit and you're good for nothing, and the stuff that society throws at you, and maybe the people that you hang with and your families. And then you've got the positive guy. Which one are you listening to, and why? Why are you continuing to have those negative words in your vocabulary, like I'm nervous, instead of saying I'm excited? Some people asked me earlier tonight, are you nervous? And I'm like, no. I'm excited because the physiology is very similar. Yeah, I got a rapid heart rate and a rapid elevated respiratory rate, and I'm like, but I'm not like, holy shit, this is going to suck, because that's what nervous does. You use a negative word, or you use a word like nervousness that has a negative connotation to it, and then it brings in all these negative spiral. This is going to suck. I'm going to screw up. People are going to hate me. They're not going to laugh until I say fuck. And then you do. And so you're choosing the wrong words. Choose more positive words. It's not a wait, it's a hang. Don't make the decision ahead of time that something's going to suck, because you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who you're going to run into. You cannot. And anybody that's had me as a teacher, and there are many of you in this room that have had me as a teacher, and some of you that have me currently as a teacher, how in the world can you justify saying to yourself before the semester even started, I'm going to take a speech class, it's going to suck, and then walk into my class? Hello? Hello? Okay, so Richard Bach, in his book Illusions, which is a fascinating book. It really changed my outlook on current religion sort of stuff. It's called Illusions: The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. And one of the things that he suggests that I think is really important is argue for your limitations, and they're yours. If you want to talk about how you can't do something, and you want to talk about how this is going to suck, and you want to talk about how you have to wait, I guarantee you, it's going to suck, you're going to have to wait, and you're not going to be able to do it. Because you've convinced yourself of that just by your self-talk, because you're listening to the negative angel, not the positive angel. And Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. So what are you thinking? Can you or can't you? What are your limitations, and why are you married to them? So before I ask you the question again, I talked about Eckhart Tolle and living in the moment. There are people that dwell on the past because something happened, and they're carrying that anger around with them, and so it affects their enjoying this moment. There are people that are worried about the future, whether or not you're going to make a good doctor, or whether or not, you're going to pass muster, or whether you're going to graduate or get an A on that test, or whatever it is. You worry about it, and you miss the enjoyment of the moment. And the Dalai Lama said, there are only 2 days of the year where nothing can be done. One is called yesterday, and the other is called tomorrow. So today is the best day to love, believe, be, and mostly live. So how many days do you want to live? Because it's a choice. It's absolutely a choice. And I know exactly how many days. Every one of them.